Hi guys, so today I'm going to teach you a little bit about connective tissues. My name is Nicole Hoffman, and this is a little presentation for my Biology 161 class. So here we go. Let's get started on connective tissues. First, we're going to talk about the functions of connective tissue. Connective tissue is the most widespread and diverse of all the tissues, and they have three main components: cells, protein fibers, and ground substance. Ground substance is produced by connective tissue cells. It is non-cellular material, and it could be solid, semi-solid, or viscous, meaning thick and sticky. The cells and protein fibers reside within the ground substance, and the ground substance and protein fibers together are also referred to as extracellular matrix. There are many functions that the different types of connective tissues perform, such as in many cases, it provides protection for internal organs. For instance, as you can see here, the skull is protecting the brain, and it could also provide structural support, as bones provide the framework for the body, as you can see right over here. Connective tissues connect and bind certain structures. For instance, ligaments bind to bone, and tendons bind muscles to bones. You can see right over here in this picture. It can also provide for storage of some nutrients, as bones store calcium and phosphorus. So you can see, like in this picture, how much percent of calcium and phosphorus contained in the bone. It is important in transportation as well, as blood, in which is a connective tissue, transports nutrients, gases, and waste throughout the body. So I try to represent that over here. And connective tissues helps with immune function, as many connective tissues contain white blood cells that protect the body from invaders. So now we are going to talk about the types of connective tissues. As you can see here is a little chart representation of the different kinds of connective tissues and what subgroups they're in. So the basic structure of each of these types on the screen is board with the different types of classifications of connective tissues. There are three main classifications connective tissues have. So you see connective tissue proper, fluid connective tissues, supporting connective tissues. So connective tissue proper, which is sometimes referred to as fibrous because it has many fibers in it, and it's extracellular matrix, and it's divided into two subgroups. It's based on the proportion of cells, fibers, and ground substance. Subgroup 1 is loose connective tissue, as you can see here. And it has fewer cells and fibers and more ground substance than subgroup 2, dense connective tissue. There are three main types of loose connective tissue. The areolar connective tissue, which I'm going to talk about over here in this slide. So it has a viscous ground substance with both collagen and elastic protein fibers. It is highly vascularized, meaning it has good blood supply. And it contains a large number of fibroblast cells, which produce many components of the extracellular matrix. It surrounds certain organs and blood vessels and binds skin. Now we're going to talk about the different So this is like a representation of the areolar tissue, I'm sorry. Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about the adipose tissue. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're gonna go back to the areolar tissue. So, talking about how it's fat cells and has very little extracellular matrix, adipocytes, and filled with fat droplets. And there are two types of adipose connective tissue: white. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. So yeah, now we're gonna talk about the adipose tissue. Okay, so there are two types of adipose connective tissue, white and brown. Brown adipose tissue is found more in infants and newborns, and white adipose tissue stores energy, insulates some organs, and provides a cushion against shocks to the body. Adipose connective tissue is located throughout the body, and it can be found under the skin and surrounding various organs. Reticular tissue. Oh, so this is a little representation of the adipose tissue. It's important. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the reticular tissue, and this is a part of the loose connective tissue category. It has a viscous ground substance with a branching network of reticulin fibers within it. Reticular cells and fibers provide a supportive framework in the spleen, lymph nodes, and bone marrow. So they specialize in connective tissues. It's a number of areas with a high cellular concentration. It creates and maintains the fine fiber networks that serve as the scaffolding for the majority of liposomal organs, and they offer structural support, like I said earlier. And it can create branching and mesh-like appearances, like you can see in this picture. And that's why it's called a reticular tissue. Next, we're going to talk about regular connective tissue. So, and so this is a part of the dense connective tissue group. The dense regular connective tissue consists of tightly packed parallel collagen fibers with a limited amount of ground substance and fibroblast cells squeezed between the fiber layers. This tissue doesn't have a good blood supply, so when it's injured, it takes a long time to heal. This tissue is found in tendons and ligaments as it can withstand a lot of stress. So it is whitish, malleable tissue made up of tightly coiled collagen fibers. They all travel in the same direction and such, and they are parallel to the forces acting on a specific body portion where the tissue is located. Bones are joined by ligaments and tendons, like I said earlier, and transfers forces to the bones. So this is a little picture of what it could look like. Now we're going to talk about irregular connective tissue. This is also part of the dense connective tissue group. This tissue so dense irregular connective tissue consists of collagen fibers, and they're clumped up together, forming an irregular pattern. It also contains fibroblast cells and has more ground substance and much richer blood supply than dense regular connective tissue. This tissue can handle stress in multiple directions and is found in the dermis of the skin and is periosteum, which covers bone. So, like I said, it consists of mostly collagen fibers, and compared to the loose connective tissue, it contains less ground substance and gets around cells and has texture that is most amorphous and gel-like. So like this, like over here. Now we're going to talk about the elastic connective tissue. This is again a part of the dense connective tissue. Elastic connective tissue consists of densely packed elastic fibers with fibroblasts scattered throughout. It is found in the trachea, vocal cords, and walls of some arteries. And yeah, and it can allow tissues in your body to stretch out and shrink back. And it's found, like I said, in the big elastic arteries, other places where a strong elastic tissue is required. This is a little picture over here, how it could look like. So now on to the next group. So this is the next classification of connective tissues. So the supporting connective tissue, which also has two subgroups. The cartilage and the bone. I'm sorry, give me a second, guys. Just bear with me. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about this slide right here. This is the next classification, is supporting connective tissue. It has two subgroups, cartilage and bone, with cartilage having a semi-solid matrix and bone having a solid matrix. There are three main types of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage consists of chondrocyte cells which support and repair the cartilage matrix, and these cells occupy small spaces and called lacunae and are scattered throughout the matrix. And it has a poor blood supply, causing injuries to heal slowly and sometimes not at all. Hyaline cartilage is the most common type of cartilage, and it caps the bones of spine joints and is found in the nose and in the respiratory passage. Next, so now it's the most prevalent variety features in pearl gray semi-translucent matrix with a sparse amount of elastin and regularly aligned collagen fibers, and it can eat into smooth patches of the bones through one another in your joints. So now we're going to talk about the fibrocartilage, and this is still under the supporting connective tissue group. Fibrocartilage consists of dense, wavy-looking collagen fibers, and it has chondrocyte cells in the lacunae. And fibrocartilage acts as a great shock absorber, and it resists to compression. It is the toughest form of cartilage, and it is what makes up the discs of the spine and meniscus in the knee joint. And then, so this is how it could look like. And now we're going to talk about the elastic, and this is still part of the cartilage group of the supporting connective tissue. Elastic cartilage contains some collagen fibers and a high number of elastic fibers. And it's also has chondrocyte cells in lacunae, and this cartilage has a high degree of flexibility, and it can be found in the external ear and in the epiglottis, which prevents swallowed food from entering the trachea. Bone in this, and this is how it could look like. And you could see it when it's dyed, so this can reveal the elastic fibers and elastic cartilage. Specific stains must be used so you could see it. And now we're going to talk about the bone. So bone is the second type of supporting connective tissue. It is more solid than cartilage, but less flexible, and it has rich blood supply. The extracellular matrix of the bone consists of collagen fibers and mineral salt crystals. And bone cells called osteocytes that occupy small spaces called lacunae and are scattered throughout the matrix. Bones provide support, protection, and also provide a point of attachment for muscles. There are two main bone tissue types, compact and spongy. So this slide is talking about the compact. So compact bone from cylindrical structures called osteons, which look like rings, and they surround a central canal that houses nerves and blood vessels. So this is how it could look like. And now we're going to talk about the spongy bone. It has a lattice-like look to it, and it is located in the interior of a bone, and it is strong but lightweight. So it could go a red bone marrow between rows or plates of tribulae and are organized in rod or plate fashion. There's noticeable areas of the bone that are less thick and at the ends of long bones where the bone has to be more compressible owing its forces coming from many directions. It could be located in pelvic bones, ribs, vertebrae, shoulder blades, and skull bones. This is how it can look like. So now this is the last classification, third classification of connective tissues. And it also has two subgroups, the blood and lymph. Blood tissue is comprised of formed elements and has a liquid ground substance called plasma. The formed elements include red and white blood cells and platelets. The plasma contains protein as well. The red blood cells transport oxygen and carbon dioxide. The white blood cells protect the body from foreign invaders. Platelets help with clotting the blood, and plasma transports nutrients, waste, and hormones throughout the body. So the blood fibers are most soluble protein molecules and become apparent after blood clotting in this most unique connective tissue. And this is a little representation of it. And now finally, we're going to talk about the lymph. And this is still in the category of the fluid connective tissue. So lymph originates from the interstitial fluid that surrounds tissue cells, and it transports fats, while blood cells throughout the body. And maintains fluid levels in your body and gathers any extra fluid that drains from the body cells and tissues before returning into your bloodstream, which then can circulate around your body. So most epithelial membranes, such as those that border the digestive tract and respiratory system, have loose connective tissue gaps beneath them where diffuse lymphoid tissue is mostly commonly seen. And then now we are going to talk about where certain connective tissues can be located. So since connective tissue may be found almost everywhere in your body, there are several instances of it. It could be found in outer ear, nose. That's only like so many numerous areas nearby where cartilage is presented, like I was talking about earlier. It is also present between the vertebrae at the ends of many bones and in other many locations. The whole body is supported and protected by the stiff connective tissue known as bone. Also, the adipose tissue, sometimes known as fat, is a loose kind of connective tissue that offers support and defense to several body components. The ligaments and tendons are two different forms of elastic connective tissue that holds bones and muscles together, respectively. They enable joint flexibility and mobility, and additionally, blood is a form of connective tissue that links in the body many systems. So it's a little representation of where you can find connective tissues up here, down there, and yeah. And these are my citations. And I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed it.